people. That was a very tough and difficult YouTube video to make. Those were my personal thoughts on the man, the legend, Kobe Bryant. Very difficult video to make because I almost broke down crying in making that video. I almost broke down crying yesterday. Didn't want to go to work yesterday, but had to. Some of y'all will be touched by that video. Some of y'all, it might take y'all a week to watch that video, but it's done. It's made. All right, today's video is going to be sex game. Sex game. What we're going to call today's title. I think I'm going to go with hold on. Drawing the blank here. See, it's too early to talk about about the Chads videos. Don't worry, Spring Break, I'm going to talk about there's two different Chads. Because there's this pickup artist that just loves to keep on ranting about the same thing over and over and over. He doesn't know how to create no new material. But we'll get to that. I could talk about women who are police officers, but I want to save that for the day where I'm at the Grove. So what can we talk about today? Because this is the second YouTube video. I think we're going to talk about... Hold on. It's going to come to me. Been working all this past week. Alright, sex game. Sex game. Man, I had the idea, and it ain't coming out. We're just gonna call this one Sex Game 5 Reasons Why You Should Never Let Nobody Into Your House or Your Apartment. We're gonna go with that video, because the other video that I had an idea for, I just can't get it out of my head. It ain't coming out. You have those days where you film videos and you know the idea, but then the idea don't want to come out of your head, so then you have to change the title to something else. Alright, we're going to call this one Sex Game 5 Reasons Why You Should Not Let Nobody Into Your House or in Your Apartment. And it actually should say Sex Game 5 Reasons Why You Should Not Let Nobody Rent in Your House or in Your Apartment. This is a video that's for men and for women for the ages of 18 to 50. There we go. So we're going to go with this video. The other idea, it has to come back to me because there's just too much that's been happening. You know, Kobe passed. A lot of us weren't expecting that, and we lost Nipsey Hussle last year, and here we go again. So, like I said, I don't want to really... I already made the video. I'll just get emotional in this video, and some of y'all don't want to see 2 videos of being emotional, because then it'd be like, what's going on here? Alright, now, 5 reasons why you should never, as a man and as a woman, you should never, ever let somebody rent in your house or rent in your apartment. Now, the reason why I say this is because there's a story where this actually happened to a friend of mine in college. And I was thinking, you know what, I might as well make the video while it's fresh, while I have some time. You know, I got 2 more days to go of work. And then I'm going to make that actual video when I get to the Grove. Who knows, my mind might change by the time I get to the Grove. I might actually drop the video on Sex Game. I like sexy hot women that are police officers. And then drop another video on why there's 2 different Chads, but turn that into a 3-part series. But this video is a new concept video, because I promised you that in 2020, I would make new concept videos, and I would try to stop talking about sex and dating for a while, because sometimes that gets on people's nerves. Sometimes when I get on the bus, there be some women that be looking at me like, can you find something new to talk about? Can you actually talk about something that's intelligent for once and stop talking about sex too much? So we're trying something new, and I know some of you men gonna be like, man, keep on talking about sex and dating, but they do have a point. Sometimes that does get boring. Sometimes I do talk about it too much, and sometimes some people might get the wrong impression or the wrong idea, and they might think you as a YouTuber, they might think you're either coming off as an intention whore, or they might think you're a creep or a weirdo when you start making the videos and then they don't understand them, because I'm going to make another YouTube video called Stop Reacting to the name of the title of the video and actually listen to the video. I'm going to explain the math and the science, why a lot of people do not actually listen to the video and why they actually react to the title of the video instead of actually listening to it. Because you have a lot of stupid people who actually do that in this world. They see a name of a title and they just react. They don't actually really listen to the video because some of them are stupid. But the point is, reason number one, people will inconvenience you. You will get inconvenienced when you most need to do something. Like, for an example, if you have to use the restroom, there could be a time where you will never get to use the restroom because you have too many people in your house. Now, here in the black community, as O'Shea Duke Jackson would once say, that too many black people like to stay in one house, and it gets crowded like a can of sardines. It's like getting on the bus or getting on the train. It gets crowded, and then guess what happens? You get inconvenienced. You can't take a shower. You can't brush your teeth. You can't wash your face. You can't wipe behind your ass. And then you go out in public. You go out to where all the people are at, and you stink. And people can smell the stink. People can smell the funk. And nobody wants to sit next to you when you're on the bus or on the train and you ain't took a shower. And then if you come to work stinking and funky, your boss be like, that's not an excuse. You have no business coming to work stinking. And when you let too many people inside your house or inside your apartment, they will inconvenience you by tying up the restroom. I mean, I'm not trying to bag on the poor old guy. I mean, he's like in his late 60s, early 70s, and he's actually renting here, but it got me thinking about making a YouTube video for you men that's in your 20s and 30s. Some of you guys are talking about getting a house or an apartment, and you don't seem to understand the difficult task and the responsibilities of living inside of a house or an apartment. Now, here's what you need to understand. Reason number two will be an inconvenience. Everyone wants to be in the kitchen and wants to cook breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Now, sometimes two people can get in the kitchen and fix what they want to fix. But if it's a small kitchen, it could take 30 minutes to an hour for one person to finish fixing something up for breakfast or for lunch, and then the other person is starving to death because one person wants to take 30 minutes or an hour in the kitchen for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And there might be days where people might skip meals, which is not very good. That's not healthy, because as time goes on, you lose weight. There's losing weight the right way. There's losing weight the wrong way. There's gaining weight the right way. There's gaining weight the wrong way. And that can cause an effect on your health. Because if you go 2 or 3 days trying to skip meals because someone goes in the kitchen and spends 30 minutes or an hour in the kitchen, and they're paying rent in your house or your apartment, it can start a argument or a confrontation. And then you get upset because now you got to take out takeout food, which is not healthy. You go to McDonald's and Burger King because one person decides to stay in the kitchen for 30 minutes to an hour. So that's the second way you can get inconvenienced. The third way is people who don't want to pay attention to when it's time to do something they're supposed to do. I'll give you 4 examples for this one. There could be a situation where if you live in a house or an apartment, there's a thing called restriction, where where everyone parks their car on the right hand corner of the street. And if the clean service who cleans the street tells you between 1 and 3 is where that person could come onto your neighborhood and clean the street, you should park the car on the left hand corner and wait until they're finished cleaning it, and then, put the car back on the right side. So some people might get up at 6 in the morning and move their car down the street because they know the street needs to be clean. Not just the trash need to be picked up, but the street needs to be clean, and they might have to move their car down. And then you have the parking enforcer who comes out to give you a ticket if you don't move the car between 1 and 3 o'clock Tuesdays and Thursdays. And sometimes you might be making YouTube videos like me, or you might be outside talking to someone on the phone, and someone might interrupt you and say, what time does the guy comes to clean the street? And you might be looking like, how you just gonna come while I'm on the phone or doing a video and interrupt me, which is rude and disrespectful. But if I was to do it to you, it would be a problem. That's the third way of being inconvenienced. Because these people get too comfortable renting in a house or renting in an apartment, and they forget that you may have something important to do, or you might be on your way to doing something. Reason number 4, being inconvenienced. They will intentionally, on purpose, don't care if you have a job. Now, some people work their whole entire life. Some people work 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 40 years. You got people that work for years. Then you get some people, and I'm not saying all people, so don't twist my words. Don't misconstrue my words. Don't be putting stuff out of context when I'm actually making a very educational and intelligent video. They forget what it means to go to work because they're retired. Some black people, some white people, when they retire, they have this tendency to forget all those days of getting up early in the morning, clocking in, clocking out, checking in for lunch, checking out for lunch, leaving for the rest. They forget that. And when they retire, they don't have no care or no concern in the world for your well-being. Doesn't matter if it's in a house or an apartment. And I'm talking about if you're a man or a woman that's in your 20s or 30s and you have a job and you're working, they can care less that you work. And you might look at them like, I got bills I have to pay. I've got water, gas, electricity that I have to pay. And you're inconveniencing me because there be days where I need to go somewhere and you be getting in the way of it. And I'm trying to give you men and women that's in their 20s and 30s the breakdown on the do's and the don'ts of letting people rent in your house and your apartment. And 99.99% you will get angry and upset because what if you need to get up at 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning and somebody goes in the bathroom and takes the bathroom for about 35, 45 minutes? And if you try to take a baby bath in the kitchen because they're tying up the water, you can make the water bill be so expensive that it might cost you more money for your water. Then you'll end up having to go to work smelling bad because that person is inconveniencing you. Then we get to my favorite one, number 5. The power goes out, the cable's out. They don't care that they're inconveniencing you until it's something that inconveniences them. Translation, hypocrite. Because as long as things inconvenience you, it's okay, it's all good. But when it inconveniences them, it's like the end of the world has just happened. Power goes out, cable goes out, and they're angry and upset because they can't watch their movies on primetime television or cable. And 99.99%, and here's what makes it funny, they think they're being inconvenienced, but they're not paying the cable bill. You're paying the cable bill. When the phones don't work, they act like they pay the phone bill, but it's you who pay the phone bill. And you see, I don't want you guys to be like 10, 15, 20 years later watching my YouTube videos and saying, Alex ain't never made no video about what happens if you get your own house or your own apartment and you let somebody rent. So I'm telling you the do's and the don'ts. If you're a man and you got people who tie up your restroom, that might make you angry because you might have to go to work in 2 to 3 hours. And if you're taking the bus or the train and you miss one bus, that's 2 hours you lost. You miss one train, that's 3 hours you missed. Now you got to call Uber. Now you got to call Lyft because this person inconvenienced you which is a bonus, which is number 6, they cost you money. Every time this individual, I'm not going to say their first and last name because it's to protect the privacy of their first and last name. Yes, it's a black guy that's in his late 60s, early 70s. That's all y'all need to know. He inconvenienced me a lot of times. And the reason why I don't bring it to his invited attention is because it would just cause an argument and a confrontation. And sometimes when I bring up some things to his attention, he sometimes look at me like, what, is there a problem? Do we have a problem? Do we have a misunderstanding? Why are you looking at me with that look? And sometimes I look at him like, we're not in your house, you're in our house. We don't pay you rent, you pay us rent. And I want to say maybe in a year or 2 years or maybe 3 years, he need to move and go find some other place. And this experience teaches you that in the future when you get your own house or your own apartment, you don't want nobody moving into your house. You don't want nobody moving into your apartment because they'll inconvenience you. You want to go take a shower, you want to shave, wash up. Now you got to wait 30 minutes. Now you got to wait an hour. There are some horror stories that my homeboy who lives in Santa Monica told me. There are days where he could not go into the kitchen break room and cook him chicken and soup, and he was sick for 3 days. And for 3 days, the kitchen was unavailable because every time he went into the kitchen for 3 days, there were 7 people in the kitchen, and he couldn't get no breakfast, couldn't get no lunch. He had to go to McDonald's for breakfast and for lunch for 3 days that he was sick. And he pays rent in an apartment in Santa Monica, but people inconvenience him and cost him money. And he told me, you need to make a YouTube video on what happens when people inconvenience people who live in apartments and in houses. And I'm trying to tell you, men that's in their 20s and their 30s, you don't want nobody living with you because they will cost you money. They will inconvenience you, but you turn around and you inconvenience someone and see what actually happens. That's why I'm making the YouTube video. This video is not about sex. This video is not about dating. This video is not about how to score and get women. This video is to explain to men from the age of 18 to 50, you do not want to end up in these situations. And if your job is like 10, 15, 20 miles away, and you have to take the bus, you have to take the train, you have to take Uber, you're going to be mad that it's going to cost you some money. And these people do inconvenience you. And I'm using myself as an example to explain the subject matter intelligently. So most of you should have a great understanding what it feels like that when you live in a house or an apartment full of people, and then there are days where you need to shave, you need to take a shower, you need to wash up, you need to get to work 2 or 3 hours in advance because your job is not close to the house or an apartment, it's actually far away. And when that person decides they think they got all the time in the world to just stay in the restroom or stay in the kitchen, that's where it turns into an inconvenience. Because if you inconvenience them, then you're going to be the one that's rude and disrespectful. And I'm talking about if you're a man that's in his 20s, 30s, and 40s. This is where the confrontation between young man and an older man takes place. This is what happens when you get a younger woman and an older... With women, if they're roommates, it happens. If it's a guy and he lets someone rent, it happens. And you could be paying 85 to 90% of the things in the house, and they're just reaping the benefits. And sometimes you might look at them and say, get your own house or your own apartment. And the reason why they don't want to do it is because it's going to cost them money. And it goes back to that word, inconvenience. And they don't want to be inconvenienced, but they want to inconvenience other people. See, this video is to give you information, is to give you knowledge. Because a lot of you guys are in your 20s. A lot of y'all graduated from high school and college. And you may not have your parents or grandparents to tell you this information. So I'm telling you this information because I'm 34 years old and I've got 14 years of experience and I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. And you need someone to give you the breakdown. See, those are the don'ts. The do's are, if they do stay, you got to make a rule. And this is going to go into another YouTube video called Make Sure Men and Women Respect You. Because a lot of guys be trying this stuff and then they don't get the respect. So I already gave you like 5 or actually 6 reasons on why you should never let somebody rent in your house or an apartment. You got 5, but I actually gave you 6. And this video goes for women because there's some women who roommate with women from high school and college, and you get women who pay rent, and then you have women who let the other women pay the rent, and you got some women that just want to live rent free. You got some men that want to live rent free. And some of you guys that just got out of high school or in college, you might be experience this. Now, the reason why I say when you get your own house or your own apartment is because it repeats itself all over again. You let one friend from high school or college or from work spend the night in your house or your apartment. That's how it starts. All of a sudden, they're there for 2 days, 3 days, a week, 2 months, 4 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years. That's why I'm trying to explain as much as I can in this video. So you got to bear with me because I just made the Kobe Bryant video, and that was not easy to make. And neither is this. So when I get to the Grove, that's where I'll have the whole day to make as many videos as I want. But yeah, I just had to get this off my chest because it happened to me 2 days in a row. And I don't want you guys to be put in the same predicament as me. I want you to be in a better predicament than as me. Because there may be some man or some woman out there who's experienced this in their 20s or 30s or 40s and might want someone to explain to them how they can avoid this. What's the best way to to break it down and talk? The way you break it down and talk to a person that's in their 60s or 70s is you try to explain to them that I work. And then if they insult your intelligence by saying okay, and you feel like you're not getting through to them, you find somebody the same age as them that can explain it to them in a way that they can understand it. Because if you're in your 20s or 30s or even 40s and you try to mouth off to your senior citizens or your elders, you probably might get into a fight. Police might get called out. You know, some ex gang member might knock you upside your head. So you got to be very careful on how you approach the individual and say, "Hey, man, you inconveniencing me. You costing me money. I can't eat what I want to eat because you're always in the kitchen, or every time I take a shower or want to take a shower, you waste time. Find somebody the same age as them to speak to them than you as a man or a woman that's in your 20s, 30s, and 40s to try to handle the situation. Because if you try to handle it the way I'm describing it, you're going to get the police called on. Because I've seen some people across the street let people rent in their house for 5 months. And then they told the person, well, I pay all the stuff in the house. You just rent. And then they think that because they pay rent, that they're entitled to everything. And then all of a sudden the police gets called out. You know, neighbors get in your business. You don't want that. So this is just videos for the day. Until next time, peace.